Kentucky Congressman James Comer. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
First, a word on the tax and spending plans. Are you powerless to do anything to stop this? Do you believe they will try to push all of these plans through reconciliation once again?
Obviously, they're going to try to push it through reconciliation, but I will tell you, it seems to me like there are a lot of Democrats in the swing districts that are finally starting to buck up to Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden and their big progressive push, because raising taxes just doesn't sound good on the inevitable TV ads that they're going to be hit with from the Republicans trying to take back the House. So I think there's some hesitancy among about 10 or 12 Democrats in the House, and that's why Joe Biden's finally signaling, well, he might be open to some compromise. I think right now they're trying to compromise from within the Democrat conference.
Yeah, I mean, look, yes, it may very well hurt them in the elections, but an even bigger point is the impact it's going to have on the economy and on people's lives. Right. There's a great op-ed today in the Journal by Kim Strassel. She calls it President Joe Sanders, and she outlines all the misinformation that comes out of this White House every single day about every single policy. Now, President Biden is pushing for pharmaceutical companies to share their vaccine patents. Moderna worked for 10 years on vaccines. Now they want to just give it away. The White House says removing the IP protections would quickly get the rest of the world vaccinated. But of course, several industry leaders are arguing that any impact from this decision would not be felt for months, even years. And there's a massive impact on business. This morning, I had an exclusive interview with the Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America CEO, Stephen Ubel, on the topic. Here's what he said.
It's an empty promise. As you point out, it's not going to lead to more shots in arms. In fact, it's likely to make the situation worse. They're not going to have the manufacturing capacity to actually manufacture the technology or the vaccines, but they are going to compete with our companies who can for scarce inputs. So they're likely to make it harder, actually throw sand in the gears of our companies' efforts to ramp up supply. It's going to undermine U.S. leadership in the life sciences. The president talks about building back better. You know, this decision is going to incentivize advanced manufacturing in places outside the U.S.
Congressman, I've been questioning this morning if the Chinese Communist Party wrote this idea, wrote this bill, this idea for the whole world. We talk so much about China stealing our intellectual property. Why in heaven's name would we give it away?
I have no idea. And if you'll notice, immediately upon Joe Biden making this announcement that he was going to eliminate the patent protection for these companies that have spent so much time and money in research and development coming up with the silver bullet to treat the COVID and to move on past the COVID restrictions, the World Health Organization came out and praised Joe Biden. So what we've seen in the first 100 days is Joe Biden simply a puppet on the string for the World Health Organization, which is simply a subsidiary of the Chinese Communist Party, as you mentioned. So this is a worse idea than raising the corporate taxes. I mean, two bad ideas in 24 hours that have a negative impact on business. What incentive is there for pharmaceutical companies to invest massive amounts of money in research and development when we're just going to allow China to have the patents? Just like they're stealing our patents in technology, we're going to let them do the same thing in healthcare, and it's a bad idea.
Yeah, and this administration refuses to give the Trump administration any credit. This op-ed I'm talking about by Kim Strassel, she writes, Team Biden continues its willful disregard of Operation Warp Speed, in part because it is just too petty to give credit to any person, company, or initiative connected to the Trump administration. You're talking about the broader agenda. The lies never stop. Kim Strassel writes, the rewriting of reality is becoming routine. The administration declares there's no crisis at the border as illegals crossing surge. It says Georgia's election law update is Jim Crow, although the state provides more voting opportunities than others. It redefines entitlement spending as infrastructure. The list goes on, Congressman. What are you going to do to stop it?
Well, Maria, we're fighting every day. The Republicans in the House, if you'll notice, the Pelosi can only lose 5 votes right now. If she loses 5 Democrat votes, then the bill fails. Republicans are on TV. We're messaging. We're trying to educate the American people. We're working with great reporters like you, Maria, in getting the truth out there, the truth about the Georgia voting laws actually expand access for voters to be able to vote. We're trying to make sure that people know that raising taxes will be detrimental to this economy that's already on steroids because of massive amounts of deficit spending and the uncertainty that's coming out of the Biden administration with raising taxes and increasing regulations on businesses and incentivizing workers not to go to work. Everything that's coming out of Washington from a fiscal standpoint is bad. Then you throw in the border crisis. I mean, we have an administration that in 100 days has undone so much of the progress that the Trump administration made over the past 4 years. So we're going to continue beating the drum that Biden's administration has been a disaster, and the American people need to hold their Democrat representatives and senators accountable. We need more Joe Manchins in the Senate to say enough is enough on things like making Washington, D.C. a state. I mean, this is a time in America where we're at a crossroads, and we need to focus on the economy. We need to focus on getting our spending under control, and we need to secure the border. So I think the message is resonating with the American people, and hopefully we're going to see the Democrats buck up to Biden on this tax increase.
Yeah, now Alejandro Mayorkas is going to the border so that they could put on a show that shows that the facilities that house migrants are not crowded and they're empty. Of course, because they built more housing. I was there last week and was able to view from above the fact that they built all these new tents to make sure people didn't see what Ted Cruz showed us when he went to the border, and that was that there were 4,000 people jammed in one building with a capacity of 250. Congressman, real quick on the economic plans here, my sources tell me that they're going to try to make one gigantic bill, which is a Green Deal, which mushes together the family plan as well as the infrastructure plan. What's the timing on all of this spending? When are you expecting a vote? Do you think this goes into the fall?
I think they're going to try to make the vote happen before the August recess, so I would expect somewhere late June, early July. We're going to do everything we can, again, to message and educate the American people that this is bad policy. And we're obviously focusing on the Democrats that we feel have some common sense, that have had a record of trying to be moderate at times, and they realize that this is bad policy. It's going to require more CEOs moving away from their woke movement and coming out with the facts, like Jamie Dimon just said about this tax plan. And hopefully we can come together and pass an infrastructure bill that actually provides infrastructure and isn't another social Christmas wish list for the squad and the progressives in the Democrat Party. But I think it's going to happen before August for sure.